So, Pixar have just updated their release slate, and Incredibles 3 is the big addition. We've of course known that this third movie has been in development, but now we actually know both when it comes out and how the other Pixar releases fit alongside with it. Which gives us a great opportunity to look into exactly what Pixar's been planning to do these next 3 years, as I've been a little bit worried, I'm not gonna lie. We'll start with the Incredibles themselves. So, at Destination D23, a mini D23 that happened in Florida over the weekend, Disney announced that Incredibles 3 is officially slated for 2028, exactly 10 years after the sequel, in keeping with the million years it was between the first and second movie. Considering the disappointing results of Incredibles 2, for me anyway, it's kind of weird looking back at that gap between 2004 and 2018, where that was the Pixar sequel everyone was kind of longing for. That was the heralded Pixar movie that wasn't. Until suddenly it was, and it wasn't very good. To the extent that this third one's just sort of a fine, have a go kind of vibe. Currently, I don't think the third one's carrying a lot of hype around it. Just the $1 billion it created for Disney, which is purely the reason why this project exists at all. But nonetheless, my interest in this one comes from an unexpected place. I mean, you think the news that Brad Bird wasn't directing would concern me. You know, he's the Incredibles guy, but no. Bizarrely, other than Incredibles 2 itself, I can't really say he's really made a bad movie. Iron Giant and The Incredibles are two of the best movies ever made, and then you add Ratatouille to that as well, and Mission Impossible 4 on the live action front too. Even that Tomorrowland movie he made, which was a monumental flop, wasn't a terrible movie. Alongside Andrew Stanton with his John Carter from Mars movie, we're bizarrely 2 for 2 on Pixar directors whose decent live action efforts for Disney absolutely flopped. The injustice of it all. Anyway, you'd think that Brad Bird not directing would worry me, but here's 2 reasons why it doesn't. For one, I'm no fan of Incredibles 2, which he was fully responsible for, which leaves me thinking you need a fresh pair of eyes on this thing, if you're going to revisit this property, but one that still has that eye on characters that Bird is just so good at. Which brings me on to the second reason. Peter Sohn of Elemental pedigree is directing this, which has probably been my favorite Pixar movie of the decade. What decade are we in? Whilst that doesn't really say a great deal compared to everything else made in the last 5 years, it genuinely was a great Pixar movie that definitely had a very personal story to it, which I think is exactly what The Incredibles needs. So if you're gonna get anyone, I'd say Sohn absolutely is the right choice there. At the very least, I'm almost optimistic for this one. And that's coming from the guy who disliked the second movie more than most. And now, with a release window confirmed for 2028, the grounding of this as a thing that's actually happening is truly underway. And its placing on the wider schedule further informs us of Pixar's wider plan. We already heard that they were going to be alternating between originals and sequels, a clinical announcement that made me feel a little sick. And whilst it does make everything feel business-led and gross, it does alleviate the chances of another early 2010s situation, where we got a double bill of Toy Story 3 and Cars 2, followed by Monsters University after a brief Brave interlude. Instead, it's consistent Brave interludes. Yay. We're at least gonna get to breathe in between the sequels, is what I'm trying to say. And in fact, we're getting 2 original movies in a row right now, as following Inside Out 2, saving Pixar really, we had Elio. Not great, but hey, it was original. Followed by, in March 2026, Hoppers, which I'm personally not too keen on the look of. I'm hoping it's that classic Pixar thing where the trailers fall flat and the actual movie's the best thing that's ever been made. I'm hoping. At the moment, it's just The Wild Robot meets Avatar, to the extent that they actually name-check the latter in the trailer. It may be a small thing, but that's where part of my worries for this one stems from this break in the Elseworld energy that other Pixar movies usually carry by actually naming other Disney IP in a Pixar movie. Even in Inside Out, which has a world very similar to us, all the boy bands and brand names, etc. are invented fictional ones. Even Pixar, that has some real-world toys, blends them in with the fictional ones pretty seamlessly. And this is the first trailer that it's felt like a full-on pop culture reference, and that just sits weirdly with me. Namely, as it feels like the movie just breaking the fourth wall and saying, yeah, it's just Avatar, but with beavers. The most financially successful movies of all time. That made me jump. What was that? That was my phone alarm going off. Anyway, Give us some of that money. Just trying to make the copycat premise accepted by being self-aware about it. Yeah, so I'm not a fan of that currently. Hey there! Thank you for making it to the halfway mark of this video. Come subscribe if you haven't already for more animated movie news. This is all part of the D23 slate, so we've got a handful of other minis coming out this week if they've not already. Soon enough, I'll get a break from all this recording and I'll allow my voice to rest and stop being ill. And of course, we're officially back for the month of September and are going to continue daily-ish uploads until Christmas. So thank you for joining along, and let's get back to the second half of the video. Alright, cheers. Then, in summer 2026, we have Toy Story 5, the last standing of legacy sequels coming out in 2026, with basically all the other ones now moving forwards to 2027. It's basically just this and Super Mario Bros. 2 left in terms of billion-dollar potentials now in the 2026 animation slate. They all have different reasons, but I do like to imagine part of it was just running away from the Toy Story. I remain suspicious of this fifth movie, I'm gonna be honest. It does feel like they need to stop making these, even if I am someone who actually really liked the fourth movie. But with Andrew Stanton directing this one, who's been there since the first movie, and no John Lasseter-shaped production drama this time, this one does at least have a shot at being a decent movie. I guess that's almost a compliment anyway. If they actually go bold with this and actually tackle iPad parenting, I'll give them their flowers, and that seems like the perfect issue for a Toy Story movie with this premise to tackle. It would certainly showcase more justification for making another one, perhaps more so than the fourth one, and refresh the franchise's relevance. We'll see though. One person in the comments pointed out that that would take Disney permitting the criticism of their own audience, and it's clear that they're corporately trying to be as safe as possible for the next 4 years, so let's just say that as diplomatically as we can. After all, that's what they're doing. We also got a little bit more detail specifically about Toy Story 5 at the recent D23. There wasn't footage releasing, and if there is, I'll make a dedicated video. But there was more showcasing of the different Buzz Lightyears being on a deserted island and awakening. They look up at the stars at one point with Star Command. They're more advanced Buzzes with TV screens on their chests because they... every toy eventually evolves into a Teletubby, I guess. It's like crab evolution. And the general tone is toys versus tech, which makes me think it's going a little away from iPad parenting, but we'll see. After that, in the Pixar schedule, we then switch to another original for 2027 with Gato, the project that has the animation most interested as it sets its sights on a more traditionally animated look, blended with Pixar's computer technology. So yeah, Spider-Verse. Pixar are finally going for the Spider-Verse animation copycat. In this case, with an actual cat. Man, I guess they're in a copycat phase. We just called the last one. A Spider-Verse looking cat movie with a distinctive European characteristic working with a hidden criminal underworld. So, Puss in Boots. They're doing Pixar's Puss in Boots: A Last Wish. But it's an Italian cat, not a Spanish one. Ooh. Either way, this is probably the Pixar project I am most excited about. The concept art looks interesting and nothing like anything Pixar have done character design-wise. So that's coming June 18th, 2027, leading us right back into The Incredibles 3, presumably coming around a similar time in summer 2028. And then, I guess, Coco 2? Maybe 2029? Who knows, man? That's the one I'm the angriest about, so the more time they give me to emotionally process that, the better. I'm grieving for the first movie already. Let's just hope this franchise doesn't give the whole thing a second death. Still, overall, Pixar have a plan. It's a plan where I am at least interested in 2 of the projects on it, which just so happen to be the ones furthest away. We'll have to wait and see whether these efforts will end up being the resurgence of Pixar or their downfall, or their continued seat within the mid that Elio has currently left them in. One scenario I am worried about is whether they decide that original Pixar movies don't work theatrically anymore if Hoppers and Gato both flop after this too. I'm certainly worried about Hoppers doing just that, as they haven't given audiences much to get excited about with that one. What if post 2028 we have a world where original Pixar movies go out on Disney Plus and then the popular ones get theatrically released sequels? You know? Already Mandalorian is going to pilot that model, going from a Disney Plus series to a full theatrical movie. It's a plan that may work, but it would be just so sad to see an original piece from Pixar get demoted like that again. Yet it is possible that that's how they go, as I don't hold much weight on Hoppers, and it really feels like Gato will be the important movie for Pixar. It's certainly the one whose production is ongoing in the heat of Elio flopping and the ongoing narrative that Pixar originals don't make money anymore. Nobody in the whole Disney umbrella knows how to write, it seems. Or it's a whole lot of executive meddling that also isn't helping right now. It's just like Disney Animation making a return to originals with Hexed next year. Both these projects really need to work for the sustainability of their respected studios. How did things get so dire? Because you can't have studios just relying on sequels, or you will run out of stuff to make sequels about. But we'll see anyway. And let's hope Toy Story 5 is actually good and doesn't transpire to be the first ever bad Toy Story movie. The franchise deserves so much more than that. If not, to just let the damn thing rest. Likewise, I hope Incredibles 3 can redeem the franchise from the dropping quality with the second one. Currently, I've got a handful of doubts. Whatever the case, that is at least all we know so far for the current lineup of future Pixar movies and their schedule. Can't wait to hear that half of them have been delayed in like 3 months' time. For now though, I'd best end it off there. My name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do tell me your thoughts on the Pixar slate. Which movie are you most interested in, or what predictions do you think the studio's gonna go with? You think gonna stumble after Hoppers and then have a rise when Coco 2 comes out? Make your predictions here and we'll revisit it one day. And I shall see you all in a little bit. Cheerio.